The first winter wind cut through the valley like a blade, and everyone knew the widow wouldn't last the season. That's what people whispered as they watched her stand alone on the frozen plot of land, boots sinking into mud, staring at the half-finished arch-shaped house made of earth and straw. Some laughed openly, some shook their heads with pity. A mud house in Canada, shaped like a bent back, built by a woman who had already lost her husband. They were sure the cold would win. They were sure she would fail. And they were very wrong. Her name was Eliza. 2 years earlier, winter had already taken too much from her. Her husband, Daniel, had gone out one morning to clear snow from the highway, promising he'd be back before lunch. A crash, a slick patch of ice, and a phone call changed everything. Suddenly Eliza was a widow with a small savings account, a quiet grief that followed her everywhere, and a piece of land Daniel had once dreamed of building on. Friends urged her to sell it. Her sister begged her to move to the city. But the land was the last place where Daniel's voice still felt close, and Eliza couldn't let it go. Money ran out faster than hope. Lumber prices soared, contractors laughed when she asked for estimates, and banks weren't interested in lending to a grieving woman with no steady income. One night, sitting in a drafty rental, wrapped in 3 blankets, Eliza remembered something Daniel had once shown her on his old laptop. A documentary about earth homes, arches built from mud, sand, and straw, warm in winter and cool in summer. Back then it had seemed like a curiosity. Now it felt like a lifeline. She started small. She read, watched videos, and tested mud with her bare hands, learning how it should feel between her fingers. When she finally began building, the neighbors came out to watch. At first it was curiosity, then amusement. They joked about pigs and fairy tales, about how her house would melt in the spring rain. Eliza heard them, but she kept working. Every shovelful of earth felt like a conversation with her grief. Every arch she shaped felt like proof she was still standing. The work was brutal. Her hands cracked and bled. Some nights she cried herself to sleep in her car because the structure wasn't ready yet, and she was too tired to drive back to town. Early snow came, and with it more mocking looks. People told her she was risking her life. One man offered her a used tent, half joking, half serious. Eliza thanked him and went back to packing mud into the curved walls, trusting a design she barely understood but deeply believed in. When winter fully arrived, it came hard. Temperatures dropped well below freezing. Storms buried roads and rattled houses across the valley. The neighbors waited for the inevitable moment when Eliza would knock on someone's door, asking for shelter. But she didn't. Inside the arch mud house, a small wood stove warmed the thick earthen walls. The curved shape pushed cold air away instead of trapping it. Snow piled up outside, but inside, the air stayed still and surprisingly warm. The first real test came during a freezing rainstorm. Ice coated everything, and water leaked into basements all over the area. People fought damp walls and soaked floors. Eliza sat on a simple wooden bench, listening to the rain drum harmlessly over her rounded roof. The mud walls absorbed moisture and released it slowly, never dripping, never cracking. For the first time since Daniel's death, she slept through the night without waking from worry. Word spread quietly at first. A neighbor stopped by with a thermos of coffee, pretending it was just a friendly visit. He stayed longer than expected, touching the walls, asking questions. Another neighbor came with her teenage son, who had asthma and struggled every winter with mold and cold air. Inside Eliza's home, he breathed easily. The jokes stopped. The laughter faded. Curiosity turned into respect. By midwinter, the arch mud house became something people talked about at the local store and the post office. While heating bills skyrocketed, Eliza stayed almost nothing. While others patched leaks and fought drafts, her home stayed dry and calm. One by one, neighbors asked if she could show them how she built it. Eliza never said, "I told you so." She just shared what she knew, the same way she had learned, with patience and open hands. Spring came, and with it thawing ground and unexpected rain. People waited again for failure. But the house stood firm. Flowers grew along its base, roots held by earth that felt alive rather than weak. Eliza planted a small garden nearby, feeling something close to joy when green shoots broke through the soil. Grief didn't disappear, but it softened. It no longer defined every breath. By the next winter, Something remarkable had happened. 2 new arch-shaped mud houses rose on nearby plots. Then another. People who once mocked now copied, adjusting designs, adding their own touches, but always acknowledging where the idea came from. Eliza became a quiet symbol of resilience in the valley, not because she set out to prove anyone wrong, but because she refused to give up when everything told her to. On the coldest night of the year, Eliza stood outside her home, snow crunching under her boots, smoke curling gently from the chimney. She thought of Daniel, of how he would have smiled at the curves of the house, at the way it held warmth like a promise. She placed her hand on the earthen wall, solid and alive, and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not victory, not revenge, just peace. Sometimes the strongest answers to doubt aren't loud or dramatic. Sometimes they're warm, dry, and quietly standing when winter does its worst. And sometimes, the thing everyone laughs at becomes the thing they all wish they'd believed in first.